to the PhoenixUnleashed.com. My name is Eliani Campbell. I am the founder and the creator of the Phoenix Unleashed. Our motto is rising up and breaking through our challenges. Our mission is simply to introduce people, their stories of accomplishment, and their strength to break down personal barriers in order to reach their dreams, while uplifting our audience in hopes that they are inspired to do the same. Right now, I'd like to introduce James A. Dickerson, aka Mr. Fantastic. He's someone that I've known for nearly 14 years. I know him as an entrepreneur, a businessman, a motivator, a consultant, coach, pastor, business startup, blog talk, radio host, author. The list goes on and on, obviously, or definitely. But I'd like to introduce this man also as someone that I've known to have his shares and ups and downs. I know him personally to be a phoenix. So, James Dickerson, welcome.
Thank you so much, Eliani Campbell. And I must say that I am really, doing super fantastic, charged up with positive energy, exuberant and excited about life, ready to face my next challenge with courage and enthusiasm. If I was doing any better, my smile would become a socially intrusive, maladaptive behavior, jacked out of my mind, and I ain't taking it back. And yes, I am proud to be a phoenix, and so I'm really happy to be accompanying you on your show. Thank you so much for inviting me to the PhoenixUnleashed.com. It's really happening. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know personally how I've talked about this for so long. This is what I dream about. I wake up thinking about it. I eat it. I sleep it. That's all I think about is the phoenix. And since I've known you personally, as I said, I can state that you are truly a phoenix, but I want you to tell your story of being a phoenix.
Wow, it's a long, drawn out story, and it goes a long way back. I mean, it started way back in North St. Louis, and I was born in Homer G. Phillips Hospital. That in and of itself is a phoenix story, being the black hospital in town.
That's
and
true.
so there's a lot of great people that have come into my life that have contributed to making me who I am today. And so I got stories surrounding all of that. But I guess in a nutshell, I could say that I grew up, a kid from a great family, and I made some bad choices. And the community that I grew up in provided some options that maybe it doesn't provide more affluent people. And so those options had to do with gang activity and drug life. And so I got tangled up into those things. By the time 1989 rolled around and crack was in full swing, I had been in gang activity and drug activity for a few years and found myself shot up and, facing manhood and, having dropped out of high school and, in a wheelchair and trying to figure out what I was going to do with myself. And by the grace of God, I connected through a church. And, the black church has always been a beacon of hope and light for us. And so it was exactly that for me. And an incredible pastor pulled me out of the streets along with the help of some other people. And here I am today, 20 years later. And there's no resemblance of who I used to be. And so it's a long story. I've had several times where I've had to, end up in the ashes over these last 20 years. But again, I am a phoenix, and I keep rising.
That you are. Okay, James, you have a lot of talents. As I said, I've known you to be an author. I've known you to be a leader, entrepreneur, motivator. I've seen you, have known you to just be out on the bus stops and, as you said, riding trains, just ministering to people and talking to people. Can you tell me more about your pastoral position? Because I know that you are a pastor, you are an ordained minister.
In 1993, I accepted a calling into preaching ministry. And it was April 25th, 93, that I actually preached my first message at Praise Tabernacle Christian Church in St. Louis. It was at 1910 North Union. I never will forget it because my message was entitled Looking for the Lost. And that has become the theme of my life, looking for the lost. And I pulled that from a passage of scripture, Luke chapter 15. Most people call it the lost and found of the Bible. It's where Jesus talked about a shepherd who had 100 sheep and lost one. And he said how he left the 99 to go and find the one that was lost, signifying that one is very important to God. And so I have been in ministry now for 19 years, and I've come to realize that each soul is important. And so whether I'm in a pulpit or whether, like you said, whether I'm on a train or a bus, it doesn't matter where I am. All I'm looking for is lost souls, and I'm looking for them because I believe that I have that light that I can shine on people, and that light begins with my smile, and then it leads into a conversation, a heartfelt conversation, and I try to reach into people's lives and do the best I can to lead them to the knowledge that actually led me into my own salvation.
Okay. Now, with you're a motivator. You've also gone by JD, the motivator. You've gone by a lot of names.
Boy, that's reaching back.
When did you realize that you were a motivator? That you had that gift, that you had that which you do have to motivate, to drive people, to push them to do better?
I realized it around the same time that I started in preaching ministry. I was actually invited to come and speak at a school that I went to, middle school, Turner Middle School, and the principal that was there used to be my teacher when I was a young man, and he actually came into a store where I was selling men's clothing, men's suits, and there I was suited up and everything. And you got to understand, these people didn't think that I was going to live past 21 years old, and at the time I was 21. And he was very shocked to see me suited up, and he said, "James, it's incredible to see you like this. I'd like you to come talk to the kids at my school."
Okay.
And I went to the school and I started talking to kids, and that day all I did was told my story and everybody cried. And I realized then that I had something special. And in fact, the superintendent of schools asked me to come and speak at all the schools in the district. And so that began something that turned into really a lifelong journey. And we can talk more about that if you like.
Okay, well, I will invite you back on that one, because I know that you have tons and tons of awesome moving stories to share with others.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay, I want to go into more of things that you've dealt with, maybe obstacles and challenges and things that you've had to deal with. I know we all have times where we just like hit a brick wall, and sometimes we give up. Have you had times where you wanted to give up, and obviously you didn't give up? What caused you to keep going and to keep pushing?
Good question. And I got to go back to, this kind of ties into the first question about being a motivator, because I started as I used to work for the Department of Mental Health, and I was a developmental assistant, and I worked with people who have developmental disabilities. Back then they used to call them mentally retarded, kind of a dirty word nowadays. And so I worked with several of them, in fact 8 of them at one time, and they were, to me, and this was the job that I wish that I could keep if it paid more money. You know what I'm saying? Because it was so rewarding. But one of the individuals I worked with, name was Donald, and I always remember Donald because he was in his 40s, and yet he had never fed himself.
Right.
And so I actually one day was feeding Donald, and it looked to me like I saw in his eyes the desire to do it himself. That messed me up, and I interpreted it to be that. So I asked him, I said, "Donald, do you want to do this? Do you want to hold this spoon and put food in your mouth?" And he made a noise, and to me that meant, yeah, show me.
Okay.
And so I started working with him. And almost 7 months later, he grabbed a spoon and got a little food in his mouth and got so excited he threw it everywhere. And that was the first time in my life I knew what it was to cry tears of joy.
Wow.
And so that night I went home and I wrote these words in my journal. I now believe all human beings have the capacity for positive change and growth, no matter what, no matter who. And that became my core philosophy. And the reason that, back to your main question, is why don't I give up? And have I had moments where I wanted to give up? And why haven't I? Is because my core philosophy. I believe it. The more I prove myself right by working with people whose lives have actually changed, and the more my life continues to change for the better, the more I am motivated to continue to go. And yes, I've had some disappointing moments. I've worked with kids. I've mentored them. I used to be a orientation coordinator for a Job Corps, and there I met some challenged kids who were at risk, gang members and things like that. Kids from households where the parents were on drugs and things that, and fathers in prison for years and they've never met their father, so on and so forth. One of the guys I met, I actually went over there to pick him up and take him to Bible study with me one night, and he told me, no, but I'm going to come Sunday, and Sunday is going to be my day, and I'm changing my life that day. And so I got about a block away and heard gunshots, and he died.
Wow.
He was shot in the back of his head with an AK-47, and his name was Antoine, and I never will forget him because I ended up having to speak at his funeral. And the day that his funeral took place, that was the day I decided that I was giving up. I'm done. I'm never going to work with another kid again. And then I bought myself a Sprite and I opened the cap on it, and the cap said, "Please try again." I still got that soda top to this day, and it's been many years now, about 14 years ago. And I keep looking at that soda cap, and it keeps telling me to keep trying.